Ever wonder who makes sure companies are keeping up with the latest in cybersecurity and tech standards?
It's a big job.
It really is, and today we're doing a deep dive into the world of ICT Auditor Managers.
The digital detectives of the business world.
I like that. We've got a stack of RoleCatcher resources to help us break down this career path, what it takes to succeed, and whether it might be the right fit for you.
And it's a career path that's, well, only becoming more important, right? I mean, as technology becomes increasingly central to everything.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right into it. What exactly does an ICT Auditor Manager do?
So in the simplest terms, they make sure a company's technology infrastructure is, secure, efficient, and playing by the rules.
Okay.
They assess, risks, recommend improvements, that kind of thing.
So almost like a consultant.
Yeah, exactly. They even advise on new tech, implementations.
So they're not just looking for problems, they're actually finding solutions and helping companies stay, like, ahead of the curve.
Yeah, precisely. Think of it this way. Every business relies on technology now.
True.
But that technology changes so fast. An ICT Auditor Manager helps companies navigate those changes and make sure they're using tech effectively. And responsibly, of course.
That makes sense. Now, RoleCatcher also mentioned that this role is kind of like changing because of things like cloud computing and AI. How are those technologies impacting the work of an ICT Auditor Manager?
It's a whole new world out there. It's not just about, securing physical servers anymore. It's a lot more complex. Imagine trying to protect a company's data when it's spread across, like, hundreds of servers all over the world, all interconnected and constantly changing. That's the kind of challenge that ICT audit managers are dealing with now.
That sounds pretty complex. I definitely see why having someone with like specific expertise in those areas would be valuable. But I know RoleCatcher was also pretty upfront about the potential downsides of this career path.
Right, of course. It's not always easy. While there's high demand and the earning potential is great, this job can definitely involve long hours. And it's a steep learning curve. The tech landscape changes so rapidly, you constantly need to be adapting and learning new things.
So you really need to be passionate about technology and have a drive to, stay on top of the latest trends. It's not for the faint of heart.
You got it.
But for those who thrive on those challenges, it sounds like an incredibly rewarding field. So let's say someone is listening and thinking, hey, this sounds like a good gig. Where do they even begin? What's the typical path to becoming an ICT Auditor Manager?
Well, a solid foundation in technology and business is key.
Okay.
RoleCatcher highlights degrees like computer science,
Sure.
information systems, or even accounting as good starting points. They all give you that blend of, tech know-how and business smarts.
It's interesting, that mix of tech and business skills. It's not just about understanding the technology, but how it's actually used in a business.
All right. Exactly. And that becomes even more important as you, climb the ladder. Speaking of which, I thought RoleCatcher did a really good job of breaking down the typical progression,
Yeah.
from junior auditor all the way up to manager.
Yeah. And they even included those real-world examples of people at different stages, which I thought was really helpful. So what are some of those key differences in responsibility as you move up?
So a junior ICT auditor might, for example, assist with audits, risk assessments, learning from more experienced team members.
Makes sense.
Then as they get more experience, they might take on more responsibility, like conducting independent audits, analyzing data, that sort of thing.
So it's like a gradual increase then.
Yeah.
As you get more experience.
Right.
What about when you reach that, that coveted ICT Auditor Manager level? What's that like day to day?
That's when you really transition from, individual contributor to leading a team. It's less about the individual audits and more about developing company-wide security strategies, managing budgets, mentoring junior staff.
So leadership and management skills become super important at that point.
Absolutely. And it's not just about managing people, but stakeholders, too. You need to be able to explain complex technical stuff to non-technical audiences, like senior management, and do it in a way that's clear, persuasive.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about education, career progression. What about the actual skills every aspiring ICT Auditor Manager should have? I know RoleCatcher really emphasized both hard skills and those harder to define soft skills.
Right. You need that solid technical foundation, but you also need to be able to think critically, solve problems creatively, communicate effectively.
Okay, so let's break that down. What are some specific examples of hard and soft skills that are really valuable?
Sure. On the technical side, you need a strong grasp of cybersecurity principles,
Hmm.
risk assessment, industry best practices, being able to analyze data, identify patterns, connect the dots, basically. Then, on the soft skills side, communication is key, both written and verbal. You'll be writing reports, giving presentations, explaining all this technical stuff to different audiences.
So it sounds like really strong analytical skills are just as important as those people skills.
100%. And let's not forget about leadership. As an ICT auditor manager, you'll be leading a team, so being able to motivate, delegate, give feedback, that's all essential.
So you really need to be well-rounded, a diverse skill set. It's not just about being like a tech whiz. It's about combining those skills with communication, problem solving, leadership.
Exactly. And that's something RoleCatcher really emphasizes. They highlight that it's important to develop both your, technical expertise and your professional skills to excel in this field.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
Now, RoleCatcher also mentioned certifications to boost your credentials.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about the role of certifications in this career path?
Absolutely. Certifications are a great way to, demonstrate your knowledge and experience. They're like a stamp of approval.
Okay, so they add credibility to your resume. What are some of the key certifications that are valuable here?
One of the probably the most recognized in the field is the CISA, Certified Information Systems Auditor.
Okay.
It's globally recognized, shows employers you really understand IT audit, control, security principles.
So if you see CISA on someone's resume, you know they know what's up.
For sure. Another good one is the CIA-SM, Certified Information Security Manager.
Okay.
That one focuses more on management and governance of information security, which is key for anyone going for a leadership role.
Right.
Having those acronyms after your name can really help you stand out when you're applying for these positions.
For sure. So having those 3 or 4-letter acronyms after your name can really make a difference when you're applying for ICT Auditor Manager positions.
They definitely can. Shows employers you're serious about professional development, that you've taken the time to master the craft. But remember, certifications are most valuable when you've got that real-world experience and a genuine passion for the work.
Okay, so you've put in the work, you've got the skills, the certifications. Now it's time to actually land that dream job.
Yeah.
And I know the interview process can be a little nerve-wracking. What are some of those common questions that come up in these ICT Auditor Manager interviews? And, even more importantly, how do you knock those answers out of the park?
Well, RoleCatcher actually gave some really insightful examples in their interview guide. One that I thought was really interesting was, can you describe a time when you identified a significant risk in an IT system?
Okay, yeah.
And it's not just, they're not just looking for a yes or no there, right? They really want you to tell a story, walk them through how you think, demonstrate your problem-solving skills.
So it's all about showcasing your experience, how you approach those challenges.
Exactly.
What about standing out from the crowd? Because the competition for
Yeah.
these roles, I imagine, could be pretty fierce.
No, absolutely. And that's where I think RoleCatcher's platform and all their tools can be really, really valuable.
Yeah.
They've got this AI-powered resume tailoring feature, so it actually helps you optimize your resume for specific job descriptions.
That's really cool. It's like a secret weapon.
Right. And then they also offer these interview practice tools so you can get comfortable talking about your experience, answering those tough questions.
Practice makes perfect.
Right.
But even with all the prep in the world, I'm sure every ICT auditor manager faces challenges on the job. What are some of the biggest ones that you see out there?
Well, one of the big ones is definitely finding that right balance between security and actually being able to get work done.
Yeah, right.
You might have the best, the tightest security protocols in place, but if they slow down productivity or if they're hindering innovation, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a delicate dance, finding that sweet spot where those two things can coexist.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think there's the constant challenge of just staying ahead of those threats. It's just an ongoing process of learning, adapting.
It sounds like a role that requires constant, vigilance,
You got it.
real commitment to, learning and staying up to date.
Absolutely. But for those who love tech and really understand its role in business, it's a super rewarding field.
So there you have it. We really dove deep into this ICT auditor manager role, from, the skills and what you need to get started to the challenges and, of course, the rewards. Hopefully this deep dive has given you a much clearer picture of what this career path really entails and whether it might be a good fit for you. As you're reflecting on all this, think about what really stood out to you, what are your strengths, and what are some things you might need to work on. Use all this information as a springboard Do your own research, and remember, the more you learn, the better prepared you'll be to make those big decisions about your future. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be leading a team of your own, helping companies make sense of it all in this ever-changing world of technology. Until next time.